Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keene. For today's interview, we have Dan Crothers, one of the co-founders and COO of VeVe. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, we are pumped to have you. Actually, Michael and Andy, Andy's our producer, they have been huge into VeVe. Like last year, they were really super big into VeVe, and yeah, we're just pumped to have you on. And you know, it's been a long time coming. So yeah.
Thanks to our friend Reese for hooking us up.
Yes. Shout out to Reese.
Yeah, you might not remember Dan, but I was actually running those clubhouse rooms where I befriended Reese and like Kozik and Jermaine and Mitch Putnam. So remember we were doing those rooms. You were in there a bunch of times. David would come in. They were good times. They were good times.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, pretty cool. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. I know that was like, I guess that was like June, July, and August or so of 2021. That was kind of back in that when those artists started coming out.
That's back in the old days now.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I know for sure.
You know, it's only 1 year. It's the old days.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first got into NFTs in February of 2021, the first thing I found was Top Shot, and then just a couple days later, somebody told Andy and I. Andy's one of my best friends. He's our producer here. Told us about VeVe, and Andy's big into comic books, huge into comic books, Batman. So that was like right off the bat, we got into it. We started that Facebook group, and then the rest was history. Kind of got on Clubhouse and made friends with Frank Kozik. And he's like, do you want to do a drop party? We did a drop party, and David showed up, and it was like, then we just started doing it all the time. I actually was messaging with Reese not too long ago. Reese is awesome. He's an amazing community manager. I'm glad that he's still there after all this time. Yeah, we love Reese. Reese is the man.
Yeah. And he's been there since the very, very early days. You know, because I think he's been going for around the company's been going for about 5 years, and he was one of the first to come on. So it's been very valuable. So shout out.
Wow. Yeah. He quit his job as a private chef when he was working with you guys.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, he did work for my previous company as well, which is why.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, how about that? Yeah, I mean, Andy and I, we were in there early enough to be able to buy the Todd McFarlane Batman from the store before it sold out. So that's a badge of honor.
It is. That's you're definitely classified as an OG then.
Yeah, for sure. So VeVe started about 5 years ago. Was it 2018?
2017, I think, is when we really kicked everything off. So yeah, we're going back into the days where Bitcoin was significantly more affordable than it is now.
Yeah. And so were you guys like, did you know they were going to be NFTs, or did you just want to make digital collectibles? How'd that kind of come up?
I mean, not at all. In the early days, I remember, just as a quick backstory, both David and I, my co-founder and the COO, and also the collector level 9,000 in the company, he and I have known each other for 25 years. When he first opened his first collectible business in New Zealand, I opened my first business, which was a web design company. This is going back in like 99 or the year 2000. And my sales guy called him up, and then I went out and met him, and we built the website, etc. And from there, we've just had a very long relationship, a number of different businesses along the way. And I remember, I think it was the end of 2016, we were just having a catch up, and he mentioned that he'd just purchased his first Bitcoin, and I was like, I just purchased my first Bitcoin as well. And then from that point, we both became quite enamored with the crypto space. and also specifically blockchain. I saw it as a very revolutionary technology that could change a lot. And we just started exploring opportunities in the, in that sort of crypto blockchain space.
Wow. So you started, and that was 2017, and you're exploring these opportunities, and then it kind of came up like, why don't we do collectibles, but just make them digital, put them on the blockchain?
We were exploring three main areas to begin with. There was mining, exchanges, or cold wallets. Mining was too expensive and too difficult to get into. Exchanges were a regulation nightmare back then. So we thought, we can definitely do a cold storage wallet. So that's kind of how we got into it. That was our first foray into the crypto space. And then it must have been fairly shortly after then that CryptoKitties came out. And it was at that point we realized that, wow, this digital collectible, if we could partner that with all of the collectible content that David had been working with for, the past 20 odd years, it could potentially be something very revolutionary or quite disruptive for the collectible space. So that's really when we started kicking off everything with VeVe. So that would have been something 2017.
It's cool. It's funny. So many of the OGs come on, and I didn't think you would have mentioned it, but they always talk about CryptoKitties as something that kicked it off. That's really cool to hear. So what you collect VeVe, I'm sure. What does your vault look like? You have like probably, do you have like one of everything? Do they give you one, or how's that go down?
I guess technically I have one of everything, but I don't transfer any of them through to my wallets at the moment. But I do. To be honest with you, in this day and age, I really don't get too much time to participate in the drops, especially. we have so many now.
Of course,
collectibles and all of the airdrops and promos, etc. But so most of my collection is very, very old, from the OG days when I was in there. And I think probably my most prized collectible is the Todd McFarlane 100, but it's edition number 16. And it was the very, very first collectible ever purchased on VeVe. So we basically put the app live, and at that point, we had no users at all. It was basically like me. Right. I would jump into the app, and to make sure everything worked, I went in and I purchased Todd, which was, he looked the coolest out of the Batman Series 1. So that's probably the, my most prized possession in my collection at the moment, which is that, very first collectible. Because, as you guys know, and maybe some of your listeners know, the VeVe holds the first, the editions of 1 to 40. And that's for, some are held by VeVe for the, just for historical purchases, like edition number 1, et cetera, is, always going to be held by VeVe. David and I probably get one each amongst that lot. And then the remainder is set aside for licensors to get their allocation. When we first started that, we never realized that anything below 40 or below 41 would become so insanely sought after. Moving forward, we'll probably keep, and I'm just speculating here, but we'll more than likely keep a few for the company, like edition number 1. Maybe David and I will keep one each, whatever's remaining for the licensors. And then we may actually end up burning the remaining items because, I know that there is a lot of, well, not a lot, but there is some concern, because right now in the market, 41 is the lowest edition that really anyone can purchase. So we would be doing a massive disservice to any collector if we started bringing out anything below 40. So we'll either burn them or really they'll never see the light of day. Occasionally, we do give a sub 40 to, somebody who does something very special, or just recently, we had a Marvel giveaway where I think there were 2 or 3 sub 40s. But prior to doing the 40, we only kept 15 in the company. And that's why Batman, the very first one, is Batman number 16. Yeah,
that's a good one. Number 16, Todd. That's a grail right there.
Yes, that's the grail of grails.
Yeah. So what do you mean when you said you don't necessarily transfer them to your wallet? Do they just kind of stay in the, like, how's that work?
Yeah, they basically just stay in the company wallet.
Okay.
I mean, I guess technically I could go, and there are some that I think the last one I transferred to myself because, that there's an allocation that we obviously keep aside for the company above the 40. And that is, especially going into next year, 2023, we're going to be doing a lot of competitions, like weekly giveaways. We have been keeping a portion aside specifically for this. So I would normally just grab one of those ones, if I want to have it in my wallet. Like R2D2 was the last one I got because, he just looked so damn cool. I had to show him off to all my friends and be like, hey, I'm cooler than you. I got an R2D2.
Nice. Yeah, my favorite thing right now, I have a 6-year-old and 2 5-year-olds, and I could just give them my phone. They love it. They love even like the Mermicorns. I was there getting those back in the day. They love those things. Mermicorns, unicornos, whatever they were called.
I would actually remember, it was so funny, back when I used to be in Discord, and unfortunately I got the reputation called Dan the Hammer in Discord, so we needed more nicer support people in there. But I remember, when we were doing Mermicornos and Unicorno drops, there would be people messaging in there saying, I don't know what's going on. I'm a 35-year-old male.
Exactly.
Up at 2 a.m. in the morning trying to collect a unicorn or a half fish, half mermaid. And I just always thought that was so hilarious.
Yeah, I remember that very well. I remember people talking, well, I think this one's going to be the better character because in the cartoon, they're like, whatever. Yeah. I remember that. I remember that very well. I have a question here from, do you know Brock McBlockchain? He's one of the OGs. I don't know if you know, like.
No, I love Brock.
Yeah, Brock's the best. You love Brock. Yeah. So what are some challenges that you feel comfortable sharing that you guys have had to overcome that your community and users might not be aware of?
Wow. I mean, to be honest, like that is a very deep pit. Most people involved with VeVe now, they experience it from a user perspective, right? Which is what you see, the drops that come up. But in order to get VeVe to where it is now has been many, many, many challenges across the board. I mean, even just to give you an example, like at the beginning of this year, I never knew or predicted that I would have to become an expert in KYC regulation. But, that's something that we have to do because, I really believe with, especially what's happening in the crypto space right now, regulation is inevitable around NFTs. And because we work with, big brands like Disney, Marvel, Sony, etc., we need to be one step ahead of the game on that to make sure. And the second side of it was that we want to make sure that VeVe is a very clean marketplace. There's a lot of crypto, a lot of stuff that happens in the crypto world. And so for us, we really want to make sure that we're protecting our users. We're doing everything we can to keep bots at bay, to keep scammers at bay. And the KYC was sort of one step involved with that. But I mean, even outside that, even some of the licensors that we've signed up, many of the big ones took years. Dave and I would be flying back to America from Taiwan, where we were based at the time, to see them every few months, would show them the updated progress in the app development, would talk through the numbers. It was a very sort of slow, iterative process. And then even just the rapid growth we had last year. I mean, you guys probably remember, if you were OGs, the fateful DeLorean drop, which all kind of went haywire. But, I mean, the app was very new. Our numbers went from like 1,000 to like 100,000, within the space of a month. And, because I remember David and I, before we launched the app back in November 2020, we were sitting around his dining room table just going, looking through the app and just talking to ourselves, like, I really hope someone buys a digital Batman. Because up until this point, it was completely unproven. Yeah. And because of that, our entire technology pipeline was designed to cater for what we thought our first year numbers would be, which was, maybe a maximum of 50,000 users from month 1 to month 12. So when we just started getting these massive influx of users, it was half of the pipeline would break because it wasn't capable of handling that much. So there was massive scrambling, and I give real credit to our early devs who were back with us, and our very first CTO, Michael. To be able to rebuild all of these pipelines while we're trying to do drops. So, I mean, to be honest, I could go on and on. There have just been so many challenges, and David and I semi-jokingly / not jokingly always talk about, one day we want to do a Netflix, miniseries on the rise of VeVe, because there is just so much stuff that has gone down. Some crazy, some funny, some bad, a lot of good, but it's a very big drama story behind the scenes.
It has been a wild ride. I mean, there's definitely been a lot of stuff for sure. And you guys have like a community that's like a super strong community that's gonna let you know at every turn what's going on and what they're happy with, what they're not happy with. So that definitely adds to it. You talked about the Discord. That Discord was wild.
Oh
that
man,
Discord was wild.
Yeah.
It was.
I have to give a shout out to Eagle Eyes, who's the sort of head moderator in Discord now. He has done so well to clean it up and just make it a very enjoyable experience for all users in there. So back in the day it was all crazy, but really now we've started to get a much better handle on it. Really we just want to make sure that we're protecting our collectors, because a lot of sort of bad actors can come into this particular space. So we work very hard to keep it clean.
Yeah. I was there those days, like on Clubhouse, there was, you probably remember Clockgate, where like you can move your clock back an hour. Right. There was all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, there could be an episode in the Netflix series called Clockgate. It was, there were just so many crazy, exciting things.
It's good you guys could laugh back at that stuff now, because it was a big drama thing. It happened. It was going on for like a month, and then people found out about it, and that was a whole thing. That was a whole thing too.
I mean, Dave and I, our approach has always been very pragmatic. I mean, the thing is, we were a startup. We scaled massively, very, very quickly. And that's just what happens in those scenarios. If we knew back in 2020 that we would have hundreds of thousands of users, we would have been able to prepare, but it was an unknown thing at that point.
Yeah, you talked about the DeLorean, and that is what made, I mean, not even just more people, but even people that were there were creating more accounts. And like, because I remember that we had about a 3-week buildup, and I knew I wanted to get as many as I could. Like that was like hype. And,
super
hot. So that was like, and then for a while you couldn't even get a drop after that one. Like you couldn't even, you had to get lucky to even get a collectible on a drop.
Yeah, exactly. Back in the day there was, we definitely went through a period of bots, and we were, and again, I guess, to Brock's question, that coming into this space from a collectible point of view, to think that there would be bot users out there creating hundreds of accounts trying to secure drops. I mean, that was, one of the other challenges that we, really didn't anticipate in the early days, and had to work very quickly to get a workaround.
Yeah, for sure. When people used to always, people were always complaining about bots, and I always used to say, ask Ticketmaster about bots, ask Nike about bots. It's not very easy just to stop the bots.
No, I kind of felt that, sometimes VeVe gets a little bit of an unfair rap, because what we experience is really what Nike, Ticketmaster, everyone is actually part of offering a digital product like this.
Yep. 1,000%. I mean, those companies like Nike has problems with it still. They can't control them. Yeah, for sure. What do you say to people that claim that VeVe is not technically an NFT because of like the custodial wallet, walled garden? That's not necessarily what I say, but I know a lot of people will say that.
Absolutely. VeVe is a very specific corner of the digital collectible market. And because of that corner, there are certain compromises we need to make, right? Like we never, ever would have got the brands on that we have now if VeVe was not a walled garden. It would have been 100% impossible. So a lot of the non-interoperability that we have is often directed to us by the licensors. So I guess, what I would say is that, there are many NFT projects out there. VeVe may not be your cup of tea, and that's totally fine. But
Right.
I hope you don't regret it in 5 years when Batman number 16 goes for $10 million.
Yeah, the NFT, like there's going to be tons of NFTs. I mean, look at like what Starbucks is doing, and that's going to be a thing where companies are going to want to control it. They're not going to want it to be a free for all with things getting stolen all the time.
Well, that's the other thing, I mean, it's like, in a way, it comes back to, us, because our audience was always collectors, right? We knew crypto and NFT people were going to come in as part of the audience, but, and that's why we didn't have you didn't have to connect a wallet. You didn't have to understand any of that. You could just come in and purchase. So it's always been very collector oriented. And, that's just part of it as well. We didn't want to have to put users through that that would have been a major barrier of entry for VeVe. And if we had gone down that path of connecting wallets, etc., we probably wouldn't have found the success we have today.
Yep. I remember a lot of the talk early on was maybe letting the individual artists, because people might not know, you guys do these big giant brands, all the giant brands you mentioned. Then you also do independent artists. We had Mitch Putnam on the show. He did a recap episode with us. Mumbot, I don't think Mumbot dropped yet, but I think she might be close. She's like a friend of VeVe. I saw she was at Designer Con with you guys. So maybe those people will be able to transfer like over to OpenSea, their collectibles, or is that?
When it does happen, it is going to happen progressively like that. Where there'll be certain people coming in, certain artists, or maybe our lower tier licensors who might want to be
lower tier, huh?
Yeah,
I'm joking. I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, not talking about the artists. I love the artists.
Yeah.
I mean, it is something that I believe is going to happen progressively. I mean, I guess, and this might be a fairly controversial point, but I'm still on the fence about interoperability, and this is just my own personal point of view, because there are pros and cons. There's pros to decentralization, and there are cons to it, and vice versa as well. So, for me, it's always making sure that we are offering the best product, protecting our audience, and delivering a product that they can, use and like. And ultimately, I think if you're a collector, then you're going to be using VeVe. If you are a flipper, and again, I don't mean to generalize here, that's when you want to use OpenSea, because you want to go and sell it for an extraordinary amount. But, in the next 6 months or so, a lot of those features a lot of the reasons that people want to move to OpenSea, all of that stuff's going to be built into VeVe anyway. I mean, crypto pay-in is already rolled out. We're trialing it with beta users now, so you can get all of the, a lot of that kind of the same sort of features.
Cool. How about the NFLPA? I remember that was a thing. I guess it got delayed. What can you tell us kind of about the NFLPA, what that might look like?
Well, I won't talk specifically about licenses because it gets a little bit sensitive. But what I can say is that, when Dave and I decide to enter a new vertical, like sports, for example, we really want to make sure that we have a long roadmap of what we're going to drop, what sports we're going to tackle, and that's what's very important to us. So that sports is a big part of what we're working on right now. And so moving into 2023, you can expect to start seeing the sports vertical come to fruition. Like every feature and every brand and every licensor that has been mentioned in the past, we obviously wanted them to come to the platform a lot quicker. But when you are dealing with 12 months of insane rapid scaling, there's a few things that need to take your attention in the meantime.
Yep, for sure. No, I remember that it was talked about last summer. You guys might have even been trying to do the NFL draft at some point, but I guess there's always things that come up. And And that a lot of the talk was, and I'm sure you won't be able to talk about it, but the talk was, it's the NFLPA. Are they going to have the jerseys on? Is it just going to be the players with the names? Like, people were wondering. I'm a big NFL fan, but if there's not too much you can say, there's not too much you can say.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say too much at the moment. I mean, obviously, we will try to get the best collectible experience, which would be right across all of the licensors. But, the world of licensing is very complex, especially when you have multiple parties involved, like the NFL. So, a lot of times these aren't just, point and click, let's get it rolled out there. There's a lot of negotiation going on, a lot of understanding what the licensor structure is. But sports, along with a few other new verticals, which sadly I can't mention, will be rolling out in 2023. Because from our inception, our philosophy in the business has been, everyone is a fan of something, whether that's NFL, whether it's Batman, whether it's Marvel or comics. So ultimately, we do want to serve all of those collectors.
Yeah. Is Alfred Kahn still director of partnerships? Is that what he was with you guys? Is he still around?
I can't. Oh yeah, he's absolutely still around. Yeah. No, Alfred's amazing. I mean, obviously he's such a talented person, and he's got a lot of his own projects going on. Really, I mean, that guy is basically an idea generator. Every time I talk to him, he's got amazing new ideas. If you guys didn't know, I mean, you probably do, but maybe your audience doesn't. He did Cabbage Patch Kids, obviously Pokemon. I mean, he's a genius when it comes to that, to the licensing world. But now that we are, the business is a bit more established, a lot more of the licensor relationship side of things is managed by David, and Al obviously still brings very cool licenses to VeVe, some of which will be rolling out next year.
Well, everybody, Dan just confirmed that Pokemon is coming to VeVe next year.
Hopefully.
No, he didn't quite confirm that. He's looking at me like I'm crazy.
I expected it.
Yeah. Jennifer, I know I've been monopolizing this. I'm having fun just throwing questions out there. Is there anything you've heard you want to ask, or any of the questions we have? Or if it's up to you. I've been having a great time chatting up with Dan. We still got some more to go.
Yeah, I have a couple questions from the community.
Nice.
Okay, so one of them was, when will Phygital get introduced from the roadmap?
We have already kicked off Phygital products. Like, we have announced already the first collectible that VeVe has produced with Ron English, which is the gold and silver rabbit grin. And we were selling those at the Decon in Anaheim that happened a couple of weeks ago. So that is coming out. And we also have a number of new licensors coming on board that are already in the physical collectible space, where we will be entering into Phygital partnerships with them. Obviously, I can't say who they are, but I think, fans will be very, very happy with those. And I think it's just a natural progression, the merging of this physical world and the digital world. My personal opinion is, physical will never go away. I know it looks like there's nothing behind me, but on my desk in front of me is just literally crowded with collectibles. So I love physical as well. I love to sit here and look at them, and I will do that until they bring out some kind of cool AR glasses and I can set up my whole desk in digital / physical. So next year is when they will be able to experience the first Phygital.
Awesome. And then my other community question is, why are some accounts forbidden?
Accounts are forbidden for many, many reasons. We basically we do a lot of risk assessment on our accounts. And again, this is making sure that users are being protected. And, there's a lot of requests that come through, like, why is my account, disabled or whatever. And then when I pass that on to support, it is for very, very specific reasons which violate the terms and conditions. So there's nothing I can really say about any specific scenario, but what I can say is that if your account has been disabled, it will be for very specific reasons. And if you haven't reached out to support, I recommend they do that, and then they will tell you exactly why that has happened. and what you need to do to resolve that.
Okay, awesome. And then also, I do want to loop in our producer, Andy. I know he has some questions as well. I'll ask one more question from the community side, and then I'll let him ask some of his. But how does VeVe weather this bear market and keep people engaged with the collectible side while financial or investment side of things are down?
I mean, I get asked this question a lot, and the reason is ultimately because we are a collectibles business. We use a lot of technologies like NFT, Unity, 3D, AR, etc. But really, at our core, we are a collectibles business. And collectibles have been around for decades, if not centuries, and they often always perform stronger during a recession. So, I mean, that's, I think, one of the reasons why, we still do 5+ or maybe 4+ drops a week right now. And we can continue to do that when a lot of other NFT projects are really, really slowing down. And a lot of it does come down to the IP. If you're a Batman fan or a Marvel fan, there are certain collectibles that you just want to get because you identify with those characters, you love those characters. And that's a big part of what we do. So yeah, we will always be a collectibles business. And I really believe that is one of the core reasons that we can survive these bear markets. But in saying that, obviously the world is going into a global recession at the moment. We've seen a bunch of issues in the crypto space, which has affected it badly. So, one of the great things about VeVe is that we're very dynamic and we're very agile. We need to lower additions, we just lower additions. We do less drops or more drops. It's a very being digital makes us very agile because it's not like, we've created 20,000 of these physical items. What are we going to do with them? We basically just decide what we're going to mint based on market conditions and demand.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Andy, reporting. Andy.
Oh, cool.
There he is.
Yeah, let's go.
Hey. Now, I had a question regarding the comics. I think the digital comics are absolutely amazing and probably like the best kind of NFT out there, in my opinion, just in general, because they have a physical that's already behind them. Do you see the day ever coming where you got this deal with Marvel? Are you ever going to release them the same week? Like, I guess Amazing Spider-Man comes out on a Tuesday, and you guys release the NFT version as well. Is that ever in the cards?
I mean, that's something we would love to do, but the comic industry is very much driven by the comic stores, the mom and pop stores. So, while there is a potential or an opportunity for us to do that, we do need to respect somewhat the physical world of comics as well. In the sense that we wouldn't want to have too much of an impact on that side of it. I really believe that there is a way that both can complement each other very well, and that's something that I'll be looking quite heavily into next year, because it would be cool, on day and date, the comics released. Mm-hmm. Maybe you buy the physical, you get a redemption code for the digital, or some kind of vice versa, or whatever. There is a lot of opportunity in that space, but we just need to make sure that it's very fair, across the board.
Cool. No, I love the local comic book shop. So
exactly. Yeah, and that's why we basically have been doing backlist up till now, because there's no real sort of threat to the wider comic industry.
Yeah, there's an enormous library to get to, I guess.
Very, very big. Yeah, the backlist is huge.
My Grail comic that I have, and Mike's laughed at me just for before. He's not right now. I got the Marvel Comics #1 Secret Rare. So I hit that on a drop, and
it was going for like $25,000 or something at one point, and I was like, sell that thing.
Yeah. Oh no, I was going to ask you, whether you got it on the drop or the secondary. I mean, I think, the cool thing about comics is that, digital comics is still a very, very new industry, especially obviously we've got Marvel Unlimited, Comixology for your subscription base, but having it as a digital asset and a comic is still very, very new. So, I'm a very, very bullish on as the this whole kind of digital economy and digital market progresses and more people become to understand it, that I really believe that those comics will ultimately end up being valuable as they are in the real, well, not necessarily the real world, because there's only like 10 Batman #1s left, which, as a quick bragging right, I have to say that I own as one of my prize comics. So I really think that we are going to see more of an alignment between what is happening in digital and what is happening in physical, because these are still limited edition. They're just in a different medium.
I agree about the comics. Yes. Thanks for pulling me in there, guys. Thanks.
Got it, brother.
Thanks, Andy. All right, we can bounce it back to you, Michael.
Yeah. All right. It's rare that Andy makes an appearance. It's he did it just for you, Dan.
I know. I feel like this is the first time that he's done that.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
So honored.
So I want to circle back to the customer service and the question Jennifer asked, because when I did reach out to a bunch of people, like in the Facebook group and on Twitter, just to get some questions and updated stuff. And a few of the people raised concerns that they might not be getting an answer. Some of them got like a generic answer. And it might not be quite that cut and dry. Now, I'm not going to say that the people are clean, because I have no idea what anybody's ever done. I know there was I know there was like some gems that were compromised running around for a while, but I think that people do have a problem with the customer service and maybe not getting an answer. Maybe they've asked a million times and they did get an answer and then they're not getting a satisfactory one. But do anything about that? Like, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I haven't had this problem with you guys, but like with the company, if I have horrible customer service, like Comcast or whatever, like Chase Bank, like it's awful. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. I mean, good customer support is really a benchmark of any business. And I get a lot of people reach out to me, just directly through whatever means, saying, oh, my account has been this or that. I always pass that straight on to support and saying, what's up with this? And like I say, 99% of the time, it is due to a violation of terms and conditions, or something that the user has done that has resulted in that action. And, I mean, every month I get through the support ticket report, and, the response time is generally a maximum of 24 to 48 hours across all tickets. So it could potentially be that, maybe those users had a difficult time back in the quote unquote old days, which would be about 8 ago, where we had a very small support team, but we have done a lot of work and brought on a lot more people and systems and processes to really improve our customer support. So as the business owner, I want to make sure that everybody is having a positive experience. So I do apologize to anyone who has had a negative experience on on support. Maybe submit your ticket again. And I think one of the other big issues that I have heard from support is that, and even though we mentioned this very, very clearly on the support page, if you submit multiple tickets, when you resubmit, you go to the bottom of the barrel. So you need to wait for every time you resubmit, you get lower and lower because you're the newest one in. So there's a bunch of things, when you are running something like VeVe, which is a very complex business, and thankfully not so much these days, not so much goes wrong, but back in the old days, with the DeLorean drops, etc. There were obviously, more tickets than support could handle, but from my perspective, overall, support is performing very well. And we do have some very, very high quality people in there, and the majority of them have all come from the community. So they understand VeVe, they understand what the problems is, understand how annoying this can be to users. So they are very diligent and very nice people, and basically they live to solve your problems.
Okay.
Well, VeVe problems.
So for people that don't think they did anything wrong but haven't gotten a resolution, what are some of the typical terms of concern? Like, what's like the major violations you see? Like,
I mean, it's a bit hard for me to list off the top of my head. They probably need to. I wouldn't recommend it, but everything's in the terms and conditions. What could be a violation? It could even be to the point that, let's say, for example, you bid on 5 things in an auction in the market, but then you win them all and you don't pay for them. that's 100% a violation, because for the seller, that creates a negative experience. And I don't want that. So if you're doing that, you are violating the terms and conditions. And also, you're not acting like somebody who should be acting in VeVe. So you're going to get a ban for maybe 60 days if you do that. Often the amount of time where people get banned is based on, what action they've taken.
Okay. And there's a lot of it. I remember there were like people selling gems for like 0.75 and things like that. Are those violations, people that bought those gems or use those gems?
It could have been. I mean, we've done a lot of work to close up all of those loops now. So it is a lot more difficult to do that now. And a lot of the support tickets come through really aren't related to any kind of off-market gem sales, because ultimately it just, it just destroys the market. If you buy something for 0.6 on the dollar, then you can buy something in the store, but then you can sell it for 0.8 on the dollar and still make a profit. So you're actually doing every single VeVe user a complete and utter disservice if you buy gems at a lower value. And you're really, a lot of people blame me and Dave directly for if something goes below retail, but there are bad actors out there who do these kind of things. So it's very complex. There's just so many factors that come into play when it comes to these kind of support issues.
Definitely. And I actually wasn't too aware of this situation, but I was told, and I don't know how much you could talk about or how much has even been released. Back in like March of this year, there was an exploit where people were able to get free gems with like expired credit cards or something. How did that affect? What can you talk about that situation?
Yeah, I won't go into too much detail of what it was, but we were very open about the fact that there was a gem exploit, that one user had found what was it? It was a vulnerability, I think, in the Apple payment side of things, which they did exploit. Thankfully, we were on top of it very, very quickly, and then we did go through a very long process of working with each of the users, because obviously, from our perspective, if like back then, it was possible to transfer gems amongst each other. So, if you got gems for X cents on the dollar, you're kind of a third party, right? You're not responsible for it, but yet you've got these gems that are cheap. So we don't want to punish you because you kind of know you've done wrong. You're brought off market. We're all very clear about that since the beginning of the year. So, again, it just paints another example of the complexities of these issues. Like obviously we went very, very hard after the people who did the exploit. Yeah. But anyone below that, it becomes difficult. Like let's say, for example, in some of the early days, some accounts were compromised, not because of VeVe security, more because of social engineering. And then they would, the person who managed to exploit, they would then on-sell the collectible in the market. And let's say you bought it. Right. Should I then charge you and take the collectible off you and give it back to the original owner? So, one of the pros and cons about VeVe is like nothing is really clear cut because there's ownership involved. A lot of these issues get dealt with on a per user basis.
Yeah. Thanks for being as candid as you can with that. I know it does get complicated. I mean, I was in the weeds of all that for a long time. I saw people that did unknowingly buy stolen collectibles. I mean, that happens with Ethereum too. All the Bored Apes is like 5% of the Bored Apes are stolen at this point.
Exactly, and even in the real world, of course, it's a lot harder to track. So. This is not something that's new to VeVe or is a specific VeVe problem. This happens everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. What else do we have to go over? Anything else you want people to know about VeVe? I know I've been kind of grilling you for about 45 minutes.
Oh, this has been an easy grill. This is only set for
okay,
low.
Good. Yeah, nice. So what do you want people to know? What's coming? What's what's the future like? I know the VeVe. We haven't even talked about the VeVe-verse. So let's get into some fun tech stuff. Like, what are people going to expect? We didn't even mention the word AR, augmented reality. We're assuming people know everything about VeVe. I got right into it with you, but yeah, no, so give what you see for the future and what's like.
Yeah. So really, coming into 2023, I'm very excited because, throughout this year, we've managed to do a lot of work behind the scenes. We've managed to get on top of, the user growth we've had. The company has scaled massively. We've brought in a lot of top talent. And that really just means that coming into next year, and of course, I take full credit for this when, back in the day, I'd be super excited about a feature and I'd say it'd be coming out this time, and then it wouldn't come out for 6 months later on. Again, due to a whole lot of complexities. But with the team on the, product delivery side that we have now, the organization and structure that we have, we're going to start seeing a lot more rollouts, happening as we intend them, and a lot faster and much higher frequency. In addition, on the collectibles side of things, we have collectibles that are dropping from January onwards that are very different from what we've done now, in the sense that, we, in the early days, we would drop a Marvel character and it would be one of 5 poses, with the ultra rare and secret rare being animated. And that worked, really well for maybe like 9 months. But then we started seeing some attrition, in the user data, where people were just like, it's too close. They're too close. There's no point collecting the set. So coming into next year, we are addressing a lot of these issues and really focusing very heavily on bringing out more premium statues. So it might be a single collectible with multiple animation cycles, multiple features, multiple degrees of utility, because Dave and I always argue about, how many editions should we drop? And for me, it's always like lower, because, it makes it more collectible. I really believe the days of the DeLorean, where we did like 55,000 editions, they're far behind us. Coming into next year, it's going to be more about higher frequency, lower edition. And that means that collectors will start to go after what they want. More than what, like what's happened in the last 12 months is everyone just going after everything. So yeah, you're going to see some really good improvements on the actual product delivery side of things, on the actual quality of the collectibles themselves. We have a lot of new verticals coming out and a lot of really cool collectibles that I think people probably aren't going to expect, along with our, major brands. Also, we're going to really ramp up our artist line. We were at Decon, and what was awesome about Decon was, the VeVe booth was so popular. We never anticipated that it would be, because there were so many famous artists there, but God bless the VeVe fam. They are always come out in force. But the cool thing is that all of those fans that did attend, they went out to all of the artists that VeVe had dropped, and they were buying, they were talking, they were engaging, and it's providing these artists a new, a new audience. So there's going to be a much bigger push for the, that artist side of things next year. And then, of course, on top of that, we have the VeVeverse, which, for me is really the next evolution of what we are doing now. VeVe, as it stands at the moment, is really a content production platform. And it does have some utility now. You've got the AR, you've got the virtual showrooms, you can buy and sell. But really, what do we do? What can we offer beyond that? I want to play with my DeLorean. I want to create the best showroom or, VeVe home space that I can. And I want to invite 100 people in it. And I want to do a live premiere of my podcast. Or I want to play games with people. Or I want to go to the VeVe racetrack and race my Lambo against my DeLorean. So really it's about taking this digital content that we've produced, which must be coming up on 8 million NFTs minted. If not even more, which is pretty insane.
Has anybody done more than that? I'm trying to think. How many are like in Top Shot? Jennifer, you have any clue? Do they have that many?
How many collectors are in Top Shot?
No, collectibles.
Oh,
Dan was just saying that they're up to about 8 million NFTs.
That's a really good question. I know there's millions, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
How many? I'm gonna see if I can find out.
Yeah. So, keep going. I'm sorry. I just found that interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's way up there, and it's it's a good testament to the to this kind of future of digital collecting. So, yeah, back to the VeVeverse. It's really about I own this digital collectible. what can I do with it next? And that is really what the VeVeverse is about. Secondly, the VeVeverse is about social interaction. Obviously we have a very strong community. And, right now people use Twitter Spaces, etc. But it's, we really want to be able to take that to the next level. You can interact in these sort of virtual spaces. So I will be, over the next couple of months, doing a bit of a roadshow on the VeVeverse, talking more about, each of the individual features, from avatars to customization to interactivity to utility. So I'm really looking forward to getting, more information out there about how cool the platform is, because we have worked very hard with, both internally and with our partners to produce something that is beyond, what the expectation was.
Oh, wow. 38 million
Wow.
Top Shot. Oh, my. How about that? That's a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
That is crazy. I mean, I got to say, that's, you need to. I mean, a collectible is a collectible because it's limited.
Right. How many users do you suspect you guys have these days?
We have, I'll say we have in the hundreds of thousands of users. That I don't want to say outright right now, just because it's commercially sensitive. And we always knew that when we introduced KYC, that we would see some attrition on our user base. But for us, what was more important is making sure that we have a platform that is trusted, now and into the future. But we still have a ton of signups coming every day. Coming into next year, one of the other really big aspects that we will be rolling out is paid marketing. We have everything up till now has been organic. So next year, if you're a Disney fan, you can expect that you're going to be targeted by VeVe on socials, and we're going to show you all of the amazing Disney stuff, or Star Wars, or Marvel, and a real attempt to bring in the more traditional collector, because I am very confident that at some point these worlds are going to collide between physical and digital. I mean, we even see with our audience right now that they were never really into collecting. They started collecting digital assets, and now they own so many physicals. And to me, that's
right.
It's a beautiful example of what is going to happen in the future. The physical are going to come into the digital, and vice versa. And digital collecting is just going to become part of the collectible landscape.
Yep. When you do those ads, are you going to sell them as NFTs, or do you guys maybe use like digital collectible? That's been a big talk. We were just at Art Basel this week. And, a lot of the successful marketing campaigns, Reddit, Starbucks, they're not calling them NFTs. What do you guys?
That we have really never referred to what we do as NFTs, because
I remember that.
It is just one of the technologies that we use, along with the AR and all of that stuff. And also, because we started so long ago, I mean, even when CryptoKitties came out, people didn't even use the word NFT. So for us, when we're approaching licensors, it's much easier to understand what a digital collectible is. Like we're at DC, for example, was what you sell, but it's a digital version. And they're like, oh, okay, we get it. And so, that's always been our language, and will always continue to be our language.
That must be so nice to be able to, like you said earlier, you don't have to have a stockpile of them, and you pick the number, and it's like selling air almost.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to create it. I don't want to demean it, but it's like that part of it.
Yeah.
That part of it is.
I'm still going to say that, like each premium collectible might take 3 to 4 months to create, but we're not. I guess the difference is we're not, lumbered with a lot of sort of, potentially dead stock if the market changes.
Right. Love it. Cool. How about any other NFTs that you collect? Are there any other projects you're into? Any things that you look at that you think are pretty awesome?
To be honest, back in the earlier days, I was, but my life is so full of VeVe right now. In fact, my wife came up with a very good saying, which is that if you're not an entrepreneur, you work 9 to 5, but if you're an entrepreneur, you work 5 till 9, mostly beyond. So I would love to get into it a bit more. I'm very heavy into the physical collecting, and that's really what I love. I think because my life is so much in the digital space that I love to have something tangible that I can go into a store and see and purchase. So yeah, not really too much at the moment.
Well, good stuff, man. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I mean, VeVe has definitely a place in my heart because it was very early on in my journey. And I still have like 150 collectibles, 150 comics. I have like 6,000 gems sitting on the app for whenever I want to use it. I haven't taken a penny out because I really do like what you guys are doing. I have like $1.5 million owe me. I'm ready to go. So
amazing.
It was great. It was great to have you on. I'm glad you guys reached out, and this is really cool.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Awesome. And with that said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode. We will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.